Hey everybody, it's the Weedcast. I've got a couple of wonderful guests on the show tonight. We've got Laurie Parfitt, who's an amazing lady, and we also got Ishqa Hillman. Before we get to those introductions, I'm just going to play this quick disclaimer just to cover all our bases legally. Now, for the serious part, and this is especially important given the topics we are going to discuss tonight, including anything related to High Tide LLC or Mo High Tide or cannabis in general. Do not believe a single word I say, or anything my co-hosts say. Do not believe anything my guests say, without doing your own homework and consulting with qualified professionals. Seriously, we are here to entertain, provoke thought, and to share our perspectives. We are not offering medical, legal, or financial advice. The world of cannabis, particularly in Missouri, is very complex, with evolving laws and personal considerations that can vary. The internet is vast, libraries exist, and critical thinking along with checking local regulations is your best friend. So, listen, enjoy, but always do your own research and consult with experts when making important decisions. Do not take my advice. I am only slightly informed.
Love it.
Yeah, right. All right. So, Ishqa is our guest tonight. She is an amazing lady in her own right. She's been around in the cannabis industry for quite some time. She's got the #3 women's podcast about cannabis in the world. World domination time here. That's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
And she's gotten almost 1,000 interviews under her belt. So we're certainly glad that she's decided to slum it down here with us little guys this week. She was on the show last week, if you saw the show last week, but this time the show is all about you. Are you nervous, Ishqa?
I'm always nervous. I'm nervous before every one of my lives as well. You would think that you'd get over it after 1,000, but as we were talking before we went live, Dave, like I think it's just a part of the process, right?
Right.
So yeah.
Are you still having a little trouble hearing me, Laurie? Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to let Ishqa do a little introduction for you then. I've got this little thing right here I'm going to pull up that'll help.
Yes, I know. I'm so excited because I know, Laurie, you were going to join us last week. So I'm excited that we're able to still have this conversation. Laurie is from LKP Impact Consulting. She does fractional CMO marketing. I've actually seen her on LinkedIn forever and couldn't believe that we weren't already connected because I feel like we've engaged quite a bit. I think on LinkedIn, and then also we're in a couple women's groups together. So I definitely am very aware of Laurie, and I'm very excited to have time with you.
Yeah, it is so funny that we weren't connected. There's a few people like that where I'm like, how are we not connected already?
Right. Yeah.
Like you actually like my posts and stuff, or somehow we're not connections.
So now we are, Dave. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to bring you ladies together. This is fun for me. This is something that kind of is a sidebar of what happens on this show quite often. I'm privy to introducing people that do business deals and that make friendships and stuff like that. And I'm always making new friendships and stuff like that on the show. So, and I didn't realize all that was going to happen when I started the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a powerful connecting tool, just like cannabis.
100%. It sure is. I would like to mention that we have the cannabis garden grower commenting. He was commenting a lot last week. In fact, he was the winner of our device that we gave away. Where did I put it? Our singular device, which I'm going to be giving one of these away later in the show.
Ooh, again, love a good giveaway.
Right? And I hope he received that in the mail today. I looked it up online. He was supposed to receive that in the mail today. Hope you got that. And glad you're here this week. Let's see. I wanted to do something hilarious, but I think maybe I'll skip it.
Oh, cannabis garden grower got it in the mail today. Love it.
So maybe by this time next week, if he's on the show, he'll have some thoughts about the device. That'd be cool. If you want to, if you're here next week and want to share,
that'd be great.
Oh yeah, I wanted to also mention that he's got his own podcast that he's trying to get off the ground. He's got like 57 subscribers on his YouTube channel.
Well, we all have to go follow, right?
Right, yeah. So please go out there and follow him. He's got an interesting show. I was watching it. He does a weekly update. This is the third grow that he's done. He's trying to get his third harvest in. And he's doing like a weekly blog about how his progress is going. So it's interesting what he's doing and what his challenges are and stuff.
that's kind of
I
fun stuff.
love that.
Yeah, that's cool. So
That's really
please
cool.
support our people out in the community. That's how we all grow and learn from each other.
Yeah,
Speaking of
for
learning from
sure.
each other, I'm going to start this off by asking you the same question that I always ask all my guests.
Uh-oh. Go ahead.
I would like for you to share with us what you're comfortable sharing about your first cannabis experience.
So my first cannabis experience was so long ago, Dave. I actually don't remember it. Cannabis was very much a part of my life from a very early age. I know I probably tried it around like 11 or 12.
Okay.
I was on the streets at 12, so that was probably something I was doing then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same here. I think that's common for a lot of people, and that's the most common age is 11 that people say. That's when I had my first cannabis
Interesting.
smoking.
Yeah.
I think Penny Lane and I also had Ngayo Belam on the show. They all both had interesting first experiences. Penny Lane's was for medicinal use.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've been waiting. So I asked that question to everybody, and I've been waiting for so long. And she finally came on the show and she was like, "Oh, my first use was medicinal." I was like, "Yay, go medicine."
That's cool.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah, I didn't really start using cannabis medicinally or even look at it in that way until my mid-30s. It definitely hit me different then. I think maybe when I was younger, I could tell like it would relax me, but I hadn't really put that together. I think I was still a bit chaotic in my thinking to have put that together at that point, but it hit me in a whole different way in my mid-30s.
So in your youth, when you can remember that you were smoking in your earliest times, do you remember when you're thinking back, were you smoking with friends or with family?
Oh,
Classmates?
I mean, both. My family definitely were a part of my experiences growing up. Maybe it's cool. It wasn't cool. Yeah. But also with friends and also just on my own, like, I had a lot to rebel against as a kid. I grew up in a pretty chaotic home, and so was, again on my own on the streets in Oakland at 12 in 1989, which was not a place the 12-year-old needed to be. But and it's funny you mentioned Penny Lane earlier. When she and I first started connecting and comparing notes, I share that the Greyhound in Oakland was the safest place that I had to sleep. And normally people look at me very concerned. And Penny was the first person to be like, "'Cause the lights are always on." I was like, yes. Like there's always people, there's always lights on. So like, yes, it's a miracle I didn't disappear, but also like the lights were always on. So it was okay. But
Nice.
yeah. So, there were some experiences with probably different family members. And, I remember smoking with my dad at different times in my life and my mom at different times in my life and my sisters at different times in my life. And even aunts and uncle, like, but it became most meaningful when I started just smoking it on my own.
So when you were like in your own space and smoking it by yourself, is that when you enjoyed it the most?
Well, again, like going back to like really more in my 30s, that's when I really started enjoying it. Before that, it was usually something that I wasn't consuming on its own. I would have when I was having a drink or something. So then it would just be too much. I also think that we go through, in the same way that there's certain drugs that people under a certain age shouldn't really take, right? I think that cannabis definitely affected me differently when I was younger than it did when I was older. And, we still have a lot to learn about the plant. But I also know like my regular use in the last decade has also has also changed things. Like, it was too strong for me when I was younger. My daughter doesn't really smoke. She's 24. Her dose is like a 5 milligram edible. She doesn't want any more than that. If she is more than that, she's like, I want off this right now. It's not comfortable for me. And so I think I was probably a little more like that when I was younger. And then now, and then, like I said, in my 30s, what it was just a lifetime of trauma I didn't even realize I was still carrying. And then I developed social anxiety. I didn't leave my house except to go to work and take my daughter to school for 4 years. So it helped me be able to sleep at night at first. That's all I really wanted it for, was just a little sleep at night. And I had a pipe the size of my thumb, and I'd smoke half a bowl each night. It was like nothing. It's so funny. I'm like, oh God, if only anymore. But yeah. And I've shared before, but a couple weeks in, I was sitting there and I exhaled and I laughed my ass off because I was like, wait, waiting to exhale is not just a movie. And I thought that was the funniest thing in the world until I realized kind of how sad that was. And then, I cried and it was a good release. And so smoking at night smoking at night alone became my space to really tune into myself in a way that I think everything had been too chaotic before to ever really be able to do. So I call cannabis the great connector, and it's because it helped me connect to myself first. And then this amazing community, which I couldn't even believe. So,
let's bring Laurie into the conversation. Ask her what she thinks about the cannabis community.
Yeah, Laurie, I'd love to hear about your experience with the plant, and were you a teenage rebellious user also, or how has your journey been?
Yeah, so I was a rebellious teenager. I grew up on the North Shore of Chicago, so good girl land. And I was not a good girl. So I started using cannabis, not quite as young as you, but in high school. And I used it through high school and college, not like all the time, but, here and there kind of socially. Mm-hmm. And then I gave up cannabis my senior year of college because I was like, my dad will kill me if I get denied gainful employment because of a failed And I really didn't want my father to kill me. So I gave it up so that I would definitely pass any drug test that I was given. And that was definitely a thing back then, still is a thing. And then I didn't re-engage with it until my 30s. And I think, so there was like 2 times. So my youngest child is what I call my pop baby. So somebody kind of came over for Halloween. We had a Halloween party. I have 3 children. And so it was like my older 2. And to thank me, they gave me a joint. And I remember we found it in our cabinet like a few weeks later, used it, and then poof, Sam showed up. So yeah, he's our little pop baby, and also our smartest child. So
yeah,
that's a lot. And then we were also going to a Jimmy Buffett concert and with friends, and they were like, we want to try cannabis before. And so a friend got us the same friend actually got us some gummies, and I really liked it. I thought it was great. Nobody else besides my husband really thought it was great, but I was really into it, and it was a lot of fun. And so after that, I started to get more into it. And then in 2019, I ended up with an opportunity to join the industry and really found my place in the world. I mean, never in a million years I think I'd be working in cannabis. I had worked in consumer packaged goods for 17 years. Prior to that, I had worked in financial services. And if you had told me that I would be in the cannabis industry when I was in college or even in my early 20s, I would have told you were nuts. And one of my mentors who had worked with me in consumer packaged goods became the president of a cannabis company and brought me along to head up marketing and customer experience. And it's the best thing I think that has really ever happened, because I really found my place in the world. I found my community. I found the people I love. And as difficult as an industry as this can be, and as many times as I hear people say, oh, well, maybe I want out, or maybe we should do hybrid approaches and do other industries too. I've thought about that. I've looked at that, dabbled a bit, and made the decision that I am doubling down on cannabis because these are the only people in the world that I actually like.
Mm-hmm.
And so just for the people in the industry, it's worth doing. Plus, we're doing something great for the world. We're helping people live better lives. We're part of a movement, and there's something to be said about how exciting that is. I spent some time in the liquor space, and we always wondered what it was like to come out of prohibition. Well, this is it. This is what they dealt with. This is what we're dealing with, and we're making history, and it's a great thing. And to be able to do it with so many amazing, wonderful, beautiful people is just such an honor.
Agreed. Everything she said.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. That's why she's on the show. She's here to contribute in an amazing way. She always has interesting things to say. I told her early on when I tried to get her on the show that I was a little bit of a fanboy from the very first time I saw her. She's impressive. Just listening to her speak, she's very passionate, and she's always very charming. Always that big smile on her face. Always fun to hear. She's probably the out of all the people that I've heard talk about what's going on in like cannabis, as far as where dollars and money are concerned and how things are moving that way, she's the most knowledgeable person that I've heard speak about what's going on in Missouri anyway. And I've tried to blackmail her into getting her on the show to do something specific about Missouri, maybe sometime in the next year, hopefully.
Oh yeah, Laurie, what is Missouri a special interest for you right now, or is it just what, I'm curious about the Missouri.
Well, I'm from the Midwest, so I live in Chicago.
Okay.
And so Missouri is kind of our neighbor and is our neighbor.
Okay.
And so being from the Midwest, Midwest states are definitely, near and dear to my heart. But what I think is really interesting about Missouri, and I sort of see this nationwide. So, every state operates kind of as a separate country.
Yeah.
So when I go to California, I'm like, oh, this is like a whole different world.
Mm-hmm.
Missouri is less of a different world. But what I find really interesting about Missouri is that, one, it has the best trade association in the country. MoCan Trade, there's nothing that compares to it. I don't care what anybody else says. Pretty much every operator is a member of MoCan Trade. If you go to their quarterly meetings, they get a tremendous following. And all of those operators work together. They really exemplify what a state should look like. Like, I'm in Illinois. We don't see that at all because, we have a lot of MSOs, and then we have some of the smaller operators. And the smaller operators tend to kind of work together a little bit. But for the most part, it's almost like dog eat dog. And
they have very different priorities, right?
Yes. And it's a little bit of a scarcity mindset sometimes.
Yeah.
And Missouri is not. Missouri is a collaborative group of people. I'm not saying they don't compete. They do. But they really do know how to work together, which I really like. And if you look at average daily sales across the country, Missouri's doing great. They're at about $17,000 a day.
Wow.
You compare that. I mean, Illinois is like 10, 11,000. That's pretty good still. Michigan's like very low. It's like 6,000. And there's other states like Colorado where you're like at $3,000 to $4,000 a day. I don't quite know how they're making it. But Missouri has really been able to maintain good pricing. They don't have the race to the bottom. They work together. And, not to be political at all, but I'm going to be like a little political, is that like sometimes I believe that Republican-run states sometimes manage cannabis a little bit better than some of the others, mainly because they don't want it. And when you don't want something and it passes, you really look at what guidelines and guardrails and frameworks you're putting around that industry. And so those states tend to be very cautious about how they go to market. And as a result, they protect their markets a little bit better.
Interesting.
And I see that in Ohio too. I just think that when you don't want something, it's you actually develop the framework, whereas in some of the other states, it's kind of like a free for all.
Yeah. There's definitely been challenges here in California as a result of that. Yeah, it'll be fine for everybody. Like, the testing labs.
I mean, Michigan has a lot of those problems too. And so I always talk about Michigan versus Illinois. It's like the tale of two states. So Michigan and Illinois went adult use the same day, January 1st of 2020.
Right. What happened in Michigan?
Michigan went open licensing. Illinois went limited licensing. And so, and Illinois was very limited.
I remember.
We had lawsuits because of the MSOs and all kinds of stuff. But Michigan became a free-for-all, and now they have an oversupply. And people wonder how we get to this race to the bottom. I'm like, this is just basic economics, guys. Like, it's supply and demand. And it takes about 2 years for a market's canopy to catch up to an adult use market. But after that 2 years, then you start seeing like almost too much supply. And until we expand our category, which means expanding the consumer base, we end up with too much product and not enough people to buy it.
So, Dave, I'm going to let you talk soon, but I have to ask her this right now. I just have to, because I actually had this conversation with someone earlier this week, and I can't recall where. I think in my group last night we were talking about this, in that, people look at the cannabis industry and they see 2 points of entry, 2 obvious points of entry. And it's bud tender or owner. And if you're and my point has always been, if you're anyone who's built any type of professional career at all, you're not going to go be a bud tender. So what the conversation around that has been, so then that's where we end up with all these different white label companies and and that's where there's like an oversaturation in the market. But that's also in my head, and I'm curious, with you having a financial background also, what this will potentially look like. My argument has always been, well, we need some sort of framework for people to invest in the legacy farms. I have a beautiful 12 J's of Christmas box representing 12 Humboldt, families, and it's the most beautiful thing in the world. And I know they're all struggling, right? And that this regulations has not made life for them easier at all. And so, the mission is, how do we save them? And now with the conversations around, rescheduling, which deschedule or bust, but whatever, well, like with the
that's not happening. That's not happening.
Yeah, I know it's not. So, this will allow for there to be more financial opportunities for the businesses. Would that open up also to being able to create something or have something where people can invest in those legacy farms instead of starting their own brand and competing against them? Like, what is that?
So, the whole rescheduling discussion is kind of a tough one because we don't really know what's going to happen. Like,
I'm not holding my breath. It's going to be forever. Yeah.
When the Biden administration brought it up, one, it was just sort of an election issue. And two, one of the things I said was, I don't see a framework for this. So Schedule III drugs are created by companies like Pfizer, who are federally legal. They're sold through pharmacies like Walgreens, who are also federally legal.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how the cannabis industry is going to fit within that framework. And so the one thing we know is 280E is going to go away. That's going to add about 20 to 25% to everybody's bottom line. The note of caution I have there is if you're not operating well now, that's just not going to save you. I mean, that might prolong the inevitable a little bit, but you're still going to go down. You have to operate it like a real business.
And the pharmacy thing, you're right. I've been saying for 2 years, I feel as though, well, it's when Newsom rolled back our hemp beverages here in California. And actually a little before that, when Total Wine first announced that they were having them, I was like, wait. There's no education. They have them on the end caps. Kids steal alcohol from those stores already. What's going to happen when people are using these, consuming them with no instruction, no idea of how milligrams translates to their regular alcohol percentage or what that even does to the, like on an individual basis. And then the checkout clerks don't have any education or anything. And so I wondered about that. And I feel like that was almost a setup. Not to be too conspiracy theory, but like what a fucking setup, because it was just a few months later that Newsom sat there and gave that story, which may or may not be bullshit. I call bullshit, about his kid coming home and those things happen. Not that it can't, but like,
that's not the reason. I mean, so I actually look at hemp beverage different.
I think they want to roll it back and make everyone get have pharmacists on staff in order to have a dispensary open. I think they're gonna that's how they'll kill the little guy.
So I don't know, and I think that remains to be seen. Donald Trump did say this was for medical, and so I don't know what he means by that. I know he's not a fan of consumption, not just cannabis, but alcohol, anything.
Yeah.
But and I wrote a letter that Ignite It published on their platform, and it was really like outreach to him saying, and I didn't actually send it to him, it was just posted on Ignite It, that was basically like, hey, there's 3 things here. One, we're your people. Like, we are the round pegs in the square holes. We are the entrepreneurial spirits. We're just like you, Donald Trump, in a lot of ways. Like, we build businesses. 2, we want to run profitable businesses and we want to contribute to the country. This is also made in America. You want to bring jobs back to the United States. You want to bring manufacturing back to the United States. Guess what? All cannabis sold in the United States is supposed to be produced in the United States. And 3, this could be his legacy. He could actually take, and I'd be all about him taking credit for this. I don't care who gets the credit for it. But this is an opportunity to really make a huge difference that people are going to remember. And those are things that are very important to him. And if we can speak to him in that way, we're more likely to get the things we want. I don't think rescheduling is going to be the be all, the end all. And I don't necessarily know. I don't know what it's going to look like from an investment perspective. It might open up investors a little bit more because it's good news. And so like when COVID happened and a lot of businesses were failing right around COVID, but then when they were allowed to stay open, that really jolted the industry. And if you look at the numbers, you can see it started to skyrocket because people were home and they didn't have to worry about driving and going places, and they got tired of wine. And so it was really good for the space. And then we started to see a lot more investment. I think we might start seeing that just based on the good news of what's happening. That being said, your question, and I can't necessarily speak to the Humboldt family farms. I mean, I know them, and how they're going to succeed. California is a really hard market, and I don't see investors investing in California until this goes federally legal and all cannabis is produced in California and shipped all over the country, because that is the future.
Oh, but they're not going to open that up. So
yeah, until that happens, California has over 1,100 brands. Their average basket size is very low. Prices have plummeted. It's way oversaturated. And so the negative about taking out hemp beverage was I actually believe hemp beverage is tip of the spear. So a lot of people don't want to embark on the cannabis industry because They don't feel comfortable going to a dispensary. They don't know what to expect. There's frosted windows. Creepy people go there. It's not in their routine. But when they go to Total Wine and they see a hemp beverage, they might be like, oh, okay, well, Total Wine's safe, so maybe I'll try it. And then once they try it, and if they like it, then they're more likely to go into a dispensary. I don't agree on the edibles and the THCA flower side. I think that is problematic. But dispensaries did not have a great way of managing beverage. So, and it was only at its maximum, according to Headset, it was at its maximum 2% of the industry. And so taking it out and putting it in the mainstream and potentially having it run by the liquor industry, who understands age gating, understands distribution, understands regulatory, I think that would be a great way to expand our consumer base. But again, California was one of the first to outlaw it. So I don't necessarily see that happening. And then when we talk about your other question about, people either want to be a you can either enter through being a bud tender or a license holder. I tell people don't do either.
Yeah.
I feel like bud tender, that's a good role for you. Like you're young and, you don't mind working retail and you just want to learn. I think, great, go be a bud tender. But if you're a seasoned professional who's not going to go that route, I don't necessarily think being a license holder is the answer. And it might not be popular to say that.
No, I don't think it is either. I think we need more people just in other roles within the industry. Like every industry, there's every role within it. So
Dina Wallman, who was the head of government affairs at GTI, I met her when I joined the industry, and she's no longer at GTI. But one of the things I remember her always saying, she also headed up with Illinois Women in Cannabis, was being a license holder is not always the answer. Going to work for an MSO is not always the answer. The industry really needs ancillary support. And so finding ways to support the industry from an ancillary perspective, I think, is actually the way to go to entrench yourself within the space, add value, utilize your skills properly, and not put yourself in a situation where it's going to be very difficult to be profitable.
At NJ BizCon this year, I was tooling around in the area where they sell their seeds, and there's a guy there selling a product that sprouts seeds. I wish I could remember the name of his product, but he won an award for like the most innovative product of the year at the conference this year. And those kind of things can really make a lot of money. Those little products that support the cannabis industry.
Are you talking about accessories?
You can tell it's like
I guess it's not really an accessory. It's more like a cultivation tool, right? Like to help with cultivation and like for the seeds to grow into clones. Is that what it was for, Dave?
For sprouting seeds, yeah.
For sprouting seeds? Okay. Oh, it's called Canna.
There we go.
Thanks, Cannabis Garden Grower. Sounds cool. Hi, baby.
Yeah, I think those kinds of, the RX Green's another one that does stuff in the cultivation space or on the ancillary side. I've run some ancillary panels. Grove Bags, another great business. Guy got into the industry, put together an amazing business. Jack Grover's awesome, and he found his niche, and he's done really well with it. There's a lot of ways to add value to the industry. People don't realize that to open a dispensary costs between $1.5 and $2 million, and a grow is, $5 to $10 million plus. And I used to hear people when I joined the industry and people would find out I was in it, they'd be like, oh my gosh, when my son graduates from college, he says he wants to open a dispensary. I'm going to have him call you. I'm like, yeah, don't do that. Because unless he has $1.5 to $2 million, he's not opening a dispensary.
Yeah.
And they're like, why not? It's just opening a store. I'm like, it's not just opening a store. It's a whole different ballgame. And it's very difficult to do well on the licensed operator side unless you're like getting into a brand new market. And so, a lot of these markets are getting oversaturated, especially the ones in the West. So California, Washington, Oregon, Arizona, Colorado, and all of the other, nothing negative about those states. All the other states are going to deal with that too. They're in the marketplace. But, when you get to a point where you now have 3 dispensaries on a corner and you don't have enough people to buy the product, everybody is just getting themselves into an untenable situation.
Yeah, for sure.
Ishqa, I want to ask you this question, and then maybe while you're answering it, you can pass it to Laurie. She can also answer it. The cannabis garden grower had a question, and I thought was relevant to what you were speaking to earlier. And he was making a comparison between the way things are going in Colorado right now and Missouri, and that you can go into some of these smaller places in Colorado and find cannabis at very reasonable prices. And he's wondering if that's going to happen in Missouri. And,
is it not reasonable prices in Missouri?
No.
They're
okay.
higher compared
They're
to
a higher
Colorado,
priced
for sure.
market.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, average pricing is, more in like that $30 plus range versus Colorado. I'd have to pull the number specifically, but I think Colorado is more in like the low 20s.
Right. So
what's that difference there then? And do we expect, you mentioned earlier that Missouri isn't isn't chasing that bottom dollar, right? Like a lot of other states. So what makes it different? And do we expect that to change at any time? And, what do you think of that?
So here's the thing. We don't want what happened in Colorado to happen in Missouri. And I know from a consumer perspective, it's nice to have cheap product, but really you're tanking your industry. And I did a speech for MJ BizCon a couple of years ago they made me call it the no jerk rule, but I call it the no asshole rule. And
wow.
It comes from, so I used to sell Maxwell House coffee. And one year I went to all my customers and I was like, here's your trade plan. And they were like, what are you thinking? Like, Folgers is going to crush you. They're doing double the amount of deals. They're deeper discounts. You're not going to sell anything. And I went back to my leadership at Kraft and I was like, hey, this is feedback I'm getting. Do we want to change anything? And we decided as a team that we were going to stay on strategy. We weren't going to overspend. We weren't going to chase, that race to the bottom. And so that was definitely not my favorite year. Like, I did not like it. I did not make my plan. I wasn't that far off, though, and I did lose some share. However, Folgers spent so much that the next year they couldn't afford to spend anything. They went completely dark. And we stayed on strategy for those 2 years. We didn't take advantage of the situation the next year. We just did what we did. We picked up like double the amount of share that we lost. And we crushed Folgers, and we didn't overspend at all. And what I tell people is, yeah, Folgers is going to succeed, and they're going to survive because they're a big company. But in the cannabis space, nothing's a big company. And so I believe that we as an industry need to hold hands and say, we all need to make money. We all need to be successful. And so let's not embark on this race to the bottom. Let's not have everybody doing Monday munchies and discounting their edibles to almost nothing and fighting over the same consumers. Let's hold hands and say, this is not how we're going to operate. We're going to create differentiation in the market. We're going to create unique experiences for consumers, but we're not going to race to the bottom, because once you race to the bottom and once you train consumers to expect those low prices, it's not coming back. And so I would say, I hope Missouri stays where they are, because they're running profitable businesses. Those businesses are surviving. Good Day Farms, which is like the 800-pound gorilla in Missouri who keeps buying up all the dispensaries. I mean, not great from like an industry perspective. However, the fact that they're doing that means that they're really bullish on that marketplace. And my hope would be that we'll see prices come down in Missouri for sure, because that happens everywhere. Illinois used to be the highest price market in the country for the lowest quality weed. And we've come down a little bit, but I want to see prices stabilize, because it's a slippery slope when you become like Colorado or like Michigan.
I think to Laurie's point, some of the reasons why the prices are the way they are in Missouri is because of some of the laws. Like, for example, you were talking earlier, the weed that's sold in Missouri has to be grown and produced in Missouri according to the law. So that's one reason why we keep things here. And also, the state keeps a pretty strict number on the amount of licenses that are in circulation. I think that helps a lot too. So I think not only is MoCan a big friend in the cannabis industry in Missouri, but also the way the state is handling things here right now is good. I think they're doing a pretty good job, I think.
Well, what you're talking about is a limited license market. So like I told you about Illinois and Michigan, Colorado and Washington are actually the same. They went adult use the same day too. And Washington went limited, although not very limited, pretty saturated. But and Colorado went unlimited. And Colorado has not been able to hold its own against Washington. I mean, they're both down, but Colorado's down more. And when you go to Michigan, my husband and I were there for a family vacation, and he gave me like $120. And when we got to the dispensary, he goes, "You should probably be able to get like 2 things." I'm like, "You mean 6, maybe 8?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "This is Michigan, not Illinois." And you can get a ton of good weed in Michigan for almost nothing, but it's not good for their marketplace. And so, yes, I agree. Limited licensing is definitely the way to go. And like you said, everything grown in Missouri is sold in Missouri. That's with every state that there's a program. So, I mean, that's not unusual, but in states like California, where you can grow outdoors, you have like year round, growing seasons. Now you end up with an oversaturation in the marketplace because you can't grow so much.
That's interesting. Interesting take. Wow.
Or you have a company like Glass House flood the market with a bunch of food and.
And California will be great one day, like really great. And I know it doesn't help everybody now, but like I said, one day this industry is going to go federally legal. I can't tell you when or how, but when it does, everything's getting grown out of California. So those family farms are going to do great if they can survive this. And that's going to be
survive this.
I know. And that's the key.
Well, we have had a wonderful time talking about the cannabis market. I'd like to bring the conversation back to you, Ishqa, a little bit. Can we do that? Can we bring things back to you? Okay.
What do you want to know, Dave?
Well, we talked a little bit earlier that you said you were having some anxiety, where you were having difficulty leaving the house. What year was this?
Oh, a decade ago. This was about 10 years ago was when it was the hardest, 12. So I actually, the cannabis industry is what brought me out of it. It was a few things. There was a lot of things happening at once. It's interesting, Laurie, you mentioned 2019. It was also 2019 for me. And before this, I was in the architectural industry, and I was helping. I grew a company considerably in a short amount of time. And the last year I spent having to travel for work. And it was a difficult year for my family. And I'm a single mom, so that meant my daughter, because it's the 2 of us. And I did it. And it was the task at hand was to just go out there quick, recruit, find an office, set it up, and get out of there. And the people in the state did not have the skill set we were looking for, nor did the universities, trade schools, or colleges have a program that taught enough of what we were doing to allow for us to assess if they would be good at it. So I ended up working with the government and creating a work program education course, and then went around and got the different schools. So my team built the course, and then I was the one who went and continued doing the recruiting. So it involved getting the schools to be able to use our curriculum first and understand the program, and that we were looking to, create a hub there. and provide a lot of jobs. So yeah, so I spent 2018 doing that. 2019, still flying out there quite a bit and still running 2 offices here in California. We had grown from 8 people making 6 figures to 3 locations, 2 states, 33 employees, and $5.8 million in 5 years. I really like operations and I like making sure people are treated properly. So that's, that's just where you start and everything else kind of flows from there. Good tech's a part of good operations, though. I do nerd out on my tech. So, it was wonderful, but I had kind of known the last 2 years that things were changing, because it was probably 2017 that the cannabis had been hitting really right for a while at that point. Like, I think I'd been probably smoking it for about 2 years at that point. Regularly, I was, processing a lot of old trauma, which then freed me up to not have such limited beliefs and scarcity mindset in my own life, and also clean up some relationships that had taken up too much time and energy in my life as well. And so I was really focused on work, really focused on my daughter. She was first runner-up Miss Teen Long Beach that year, and we were doing concerts and traveling and doing all the fun things. And then because I have her permission to share this, she was assaulted by her best friend's brother.
Oh, no.
And at the same time that I had to travel. And so it was just really difficult to not be able to be here in the way that I wanted to. It definitely led to a few months of her own trauma and healing and things getting harder before they got easier for her. She's awesome and she's doing great and has been now for like 5 years. But that first year was very difficult. And so there was an incident in January that led to me almost losing her. And then I kind of kept working through it because I kept getting called into the office. And after you've dedicated 7 years to a place and growing a place, that's not the feeling you want to get from people when your daughter's in the hospital for a week. So that led to, me just having more and more awarenesses. I feel like what I say now and what I tell my daughter when things like this come up in her life, right, is sometimes the universe will use people in your life to move you. And I really genuinely believe that, because I have no animosity for anyone in that company at all. I think it was just what needed to happen, right? And so just like when you birth a new life, the birthing is uncomfortable, like that's not, Laurie can attest to that too, right? Like that part's not fun. But what comes as a result is really beautiful and is a whole new life. And that's kind of what happened to me. It's funny, I didn't realize it for 2 years later until a Facebook memory popped up, but I resigned from my job. I finally had enough. On 7/10/2019. I had no idea what that was. No idea. I hadn't even thought of cannabis as an industry. Like, I was still using my delivery guy. Like, I don't think I'd even gone into his new shop yet. And a young woman who I had hired at that company years before, who knew that I was leaving, had been bud tending, moonlighting as a bud tender here in town, and said, "Hey, I'm going to this cannabis industry event. Do you want to go?" And I did, and I didn't want to go anywhere back then, right? Except work. So, and I did, and I was like, "Oh, interesting." And I just quit my job, and this was 11 days later. And that's when I went into the LBCA. Laurie, you talked about the importance of associations. Abso-fucking-lutely. This amazing association here in Long Beach, the LBCA, a bunch of operators, and they had education. And it was the first time I heard endocannabinoid system, and that moment changed my life. So I got visuals. I became obsessed with learning everything I could, because everyone deserves this freedom and to know what this plant can do for them. and what's possible for them because of the way it's changed my life. And I just, I got visuals. I always go like this. It was prison bars and the door opening on the left, and a golden cage with the door opening on the right. And the prison bars is self-explanatory, right? How many generations of people have been locked up and incarcerated because of this plant? How many families and generations of families have been impacted because of that?
Yeah.
And then the golden cage of just like, for me in my professional career and being the single mom and trying to be all the things, like all the pressure. And I mean, God, years of being prescribed like pills for the anxiety or other things that after 2 days would make my skin crawl. So like those weren't an option for me. This was the thing. And I had hid it for so long. And then even as I became more open, dealt with the shame of it from other people. And so learning it's a system in our bodies and that it's designed to help us be able to manage the stress of everyday life and be able to really enjoy our lives and be comfortable in our bodies and to heal. Everyone has a right to know.
Do we need to let you go, Laurie? Did you have a hard stop?
Oh, Laurie, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it was so much fun
Okay,
being able to
all
share
right.
some time with you, though. Thank you so
It
much.
was so great to talk to both of you. This has been so much fun. Any last questions you want to ask?
Oh, I think not. I think I'm good. Do you have any questions for our guest?
I mean, Laurie, you know, I'm going to have to follow up with you and we're going to have to continue this some other time.
For
I
sure.
would
Oh my
love
gosh, I would love that. Please send me a note. Like, let's schedule
I will.
time after the holidays. I would love to get a call with you.
Yeah, that'd be great. I wish you and the family the best. Have a
You
good one.
too.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay.
Nice catch on the time, Dave. You're on it.
Yeah. That was kind of a strange beginning to the show. The audience may not have caught what's going on if there's anybody even watching right now live. There's a couple people. My wife, thank you. But for some reason, Laurie was not able to hear me. So Ishqa was kind of trying to have to co-host with my co-host. So it made it a little bit of a different show than what I normally have, but that's okay. We made it to about the 1 hour mark, which is officially the pants optional portion of the show. I got a sound effect for that right here. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah. I actually had a joke that I wanted to tell while Laurie was on the show, but maybe I'll save it for next time because it's a Jewish joke. So I wanted her to be here when I told it. Okay. Do you have a joke? Did you come prepared with a joke this week?
I don't have a new joke. I only know that one joke. It's the only one I know. I can't for the life of me remember or retain another joke, and I haven't been able to in 30 years. As many other things as I can remember. Asking me any tech question you want, but like a joke, I don't know.
So I wanted to talk about your podcasting. Did you start that in 2020?
So that started in 2020, March 2020. 2019, I entered the industry in really more in September because I continued to work for that company and I found my replacement and made sure everyone was taken care of. It took a couple months. And so my last day at my last job was actually September 27th, 2019. And oddly enough, even though I had started a whole other company and thought I was going to do something else altogether, the Cannabis babes became a thing just 2 months later. So it just kind of took over.
And you have really slammed it with the interviews, almost 1,000 interviews. Wow. That's
well, we did 804 in the first 85 weeks. So the bulk of it was really done at the beginning when, we were all at home and had time and whatnot. So, yeah.
Something to occupy you during COVID?
Yeah, it was, what it was for me was, I think because I had just found and stumbled upon this community. And when I first entered the space, I thought I was the new girl. I thought everyone else knew each other. I didn't realize we were all new. And so I found myself, as even with this podcast, what you mentioned earlier, right? Connecting people, like meeting people, and then, oh, well, you should meet you because I know what you're trying to do and I know what you're trying to do. And that's aligned,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
be able to do that. And so I found myself really early on, because my other business was business consulting. I thought I'd do business consulting and work in juvenile halls. That's just kind of the questions I would ask is, what are you doing? And I was meeting a lot of entrepreneurial people in the industry because it was brand new and everyone wanted to be a part of it. And so, I was really just doing connections and then events. I started doing events really quickly, really easily. And so, so I was doing events. My last event in person was February 29th, 2020. So right before, 2 weeks before the national announcement of the shutdown. So at that point, my brother from another mother, Rico Lamite, he is who I was doing a lot of events with. I was helping manage his event business as his business manager. He goes, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I can't stop the connections. I'm going to go live." And so that's what I did. And I did 40 on my own in the first 2 weeks because I'm a little crazy.
How did you come up with all those guests?
What?
How did you come up with all those guests?
I had met so many people. Are you kidding? So the events that I was doing with Rico before the pandemic were CBD Sundays and Canna Gather. And Canna Gather was an event that was a bi-coastal event. It was held out here in Southern California. There was one, I believe, in the Bay Area, and then there was one in New York. And so it was all the different industry people from those different areas. And Rico ran the SoCal one, and Rico needed help because we were doing it in LA and in Irvine each month. Mm-hmm. So, and what that was panel discussions, different industry experts, and then other industry people that would come and meet and network. So I met a ton of people, from the beginning. My first 420, I hosted the 50th anniversary of LA Normal with Tommy Chong. I didn't even know what was happening. It was crazy. My daughter and I, the first year and a half, I would come home and she'd be like, "What is your life?" And I was like, "I don't know." Because we went from nothing to boom, Juneteenth that year, the Cannabis Babes was a sponsor of Ebony's Juneteenth event.
Wow.
From the beginning, there were things that were aligning that this is the only life for me. So, yeah.
Nice. So during all those interviews, what have you learned? What's the one shining piece of advice or one thing that you've learned glaring through from all those interviews about the cannabis industry that you can share with us?
Don't trust the government. This whole, don't trust the government. Don't trust a damn thing that they say. We've been here before. What's happening now is bullshit. It's all just PR. And I've learned that in a few different ways, because I also formed a nonprofit 6 years ago because, a new business, quitting my job and starting a new business wasn't enough. And in the last 6 years, that nonprofit that, originally it was going to be to help young people. The idea was adulting classes. And then with the pandemic, our local houseless community was really struggling. And so in the last 6 years, a lot of the work and the majority of the work with the nonprofit has been to serve those communities. Cool. In serving those communities and in fighting for cannabis advocacy with social equity and with lowering taxes and everything else here in Long Beach, I've learned a lot about what it's like to actually get involved in your local politics. You know, what are your city council people really like? Not just what do they campaign for, right? And the importance of our civic duty of showing up and going to those city council meetings and holding them accountable and saying, hey, are you doing what you promised to do? And making sure that that happens. And so there's been a lot of work here. You know, there's been a lot of work here, and there's a lot more to be done. I keep seeing the little guy get eaten up and chewed out, and it pisses me off. So I hear what Laurie's saying, and I also do not accept. Or challenge accepted, maybe that, you know, like, then that's kind of what my attitude was even 6 years ago when I heard no banking, no marketing, all these different regulations.
Sure.
You know, here in California, taxes are 36%. That's more than overhead is in other industries. I'm always going on about that because it blows my mind. And so it was just kind of like a challenge accepted, because you can see very clearly how much this plan is helping people. I have almost 1,000 stories worldwide. They are not all brand and business owners. And most of the brand and business owners that I know, it's because the plant changed their life or someone in their life. And so, yeah, I think we have a long fight ahead of us. I don't think they want people to be as, woke is what this plant can do.
Just to kind of make this interview go sideways for a minute.
Let's go.
The next question is a very serious one. Is, do you currently have enough Dave in your life?
I don't. I need one of those Dave shirts, actually. Or do we get to watch the commercial again? Can we watch the commercial again?
Yes, we have a public service announcement. Just in case you need more Dave in your life.
We need more Dave.
Is your life feeling empty? Lacking a certain spark? Are you suffering from a critical lack of Dave? You need more Dave in your life, and now you can get it with the Dave experience from the Weedcast. Just listen to these satisfied customers.
My life was so boring before Dave, but now I have Dave, and everything is Dave. Thanks, Dave.
That's right. With a sponsorship on the Weedcast, you can get all the Dave you can handle. Dave will talk about your brand. Dave will promote your event. Dave.
But seriously, if you have a brand or a service in the cannabis space and you want to get your message out to our amazing community, I'd love to partner with you. Sponsorship on this show is a direct line to a dedicated audience.
Best commercial ever.
That is just internet gold right there.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't have any guests lined up at all. And normally I'm booked solid out for like a month and a half, and I haven't really been pushing it either. I think I'm going to take the time, if I don't have any episodes coming up, to do some more commercials and some other stuff, some other video stuff. Plus, I had a lot of content from MJ BizCon that I have not put up yet, and I need to get that content up. It's almost already too late. It's almost not even relevant anymore. But
does it feel like that? That's what,
yeah,
so I still
yeah.
have a little more too. I've been doing like the slow trickle just because there was so much at first from everybody. Like you
Sure.
also don't want to get lost in the noise, right?
True.
Like there's a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, so I've done, like last week I released the interviews that I did when I was there. I still
That's
have,
awesome.
and then I have a post that I'm finishing up on the brand pitch that I did out there, where we had different brands come and work with a PR person and then pitch to media. That was so fun.
I wish I would have been there for that.
Yeah, well, I want to host them digitally, so I think we're gonna find a way to continue to do that. And just, you know, like I said, for me, it's about supporting the smaller brands. Like, you know, what Laurie said is not wrong, but I don't want it to be true. You know, like it is going to be the 800-pound gorillas that take over. And it is, you know, it is the MSOs that are, posed to take the lead. They're also the ones who are also sending messages like that to Trump, and he does love to have his ego, among other things, stroked. So, that's fine. And there's something for everybody. Like, we need all that, like that helps move things forward too. But my heart and my time and my energy is always going to be in supporting the legacy people, supporting the social equity people, supporting the people who have paid a price in order to be here that goes beyond financial. And legacy is like, that word is so meaningful to me. It's a word I actually used to help grow that last company, in other industries, is, we're building something bigger than ourselves here. And so it is one of the things I love about this industry, is that is absolutely true. And I couldn't be more proud and honored to be a part of that. So that's why I'm here every day. It doesn't always pay the bills. I do work in other industries still.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't figured out a way for this to pay any bills so far. This has just been a really expensive hobby.
Yeah. The podcast is more of a lead generator for other things for me.
Yeah.
But through the years, I've had opportunities for sponsors and things. And as time has gone on, I've actually turned them down because I like being able to say whatever the fuck I want without anyone asking me why I said it afterwards. So my show, my shit.
There's some truth to that for sure.
Yeah.
You always have to be skeptical when somebody has a sponsor and when they're doing interviews. What's your take on? What's your real take on this? You know what I mean? How do you really feel? What would you really say if you weren't beholden to some company or whatever? That's very much true. Yeah, and if you're going to be in bed with these people, you got to play nice. Otherwise, you can't. They don't support you. You don't support each other.
Yeah.
So it's gotta, if you're going to do something like that, it's got to be. I would guess it would be have to be with a company that, or a product or whatever, that really resonates with you.
Yeah, that really resonates with me. Sure. The problem is, people grow like plants grow, and sometimes they don't always grow in the same way, in the same direction. So where there was alignment at first, that can also potentially change later. And I feel like in the last 6 years, I've watched so much growth and change, and even of like, who the influencers of the moment are. And like, there's like, it goes through cycles, right? As anything else does. But I think it being a newer industry, it's going through cycles a little faster. Also, it being one that still is finding a hard time financially supporting itself in most regulated areas without other activities. Like, it's just different. It's just different. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think anyone's stable enough yet to know who they are, because everyone's in survival mode. And when people are in survival mode, that's not when they play nice.
I think that for me, out of all the people that I've interviewed, which hasn't been a lot, I don't know. I've probably done 30 interviews, maybe, and probably more than that, but at least 30 on the Weedcast. Is that everybody who uses this plant in some way, whether it be for leisure time activities or for medicine or whatever, and whether you've been doing it for 50 years or you just discovered gummies yesterday and it's improved your life, everybody has an amazing story to tell. Even if you just started using yesterday, why was that? How come you didn't start using until yesterday? Is there some reason? Is it because of a stigma, or did somebody say something? Do you live in a place where doctors don't recommend that? Why? You know what I mean? There's so many questions. Yeah. Everybody's got an amazing story to tell.
Yeah.
And I guess I kind of like being having people on the show and helping kind of facilitate that and telling those stories, especially the ones where they're about people, even that were harmed by the plant in some way, like they went to prison,
yeah,
or they were prosecuted for some reason. Like,
yeah,
I just recently disclosed to my VA psychiatrist or psychologist that I use cannabis, and I lied about it for years up until this point.
How did that go?
It went really well.
Good.
I think that she was not in favor of it, like because it's illegal. I think that was her take. And also probably because as a psychiatrist, there's just like a doctor at a hospital, at the VA or anywhere, they have to prescribe they also have sponsors. They're prescribing certain medications that they're trying to push. That these companies come in and are trying to push those prescriptions and whatnot. It's the same thing at the VA. If somebody has a stomach ache, there's a certain range of medications you can prescribe for that thing and so on. So it's the same thing in the cannabis space. There's not a lot of training, if any, probably in the psychiatrists, as far as using it to treat.
No, it's not mandatory in medical schools. So a lot of them are not taught anything.
Exactly. Yeah. So she didn't really even have a very informed opinion, in my opinion. She herself had never used. I don't think she'd ever consumed. She said like she was never even somebody that consumed alcohol or anything, which I'm not holding that against her for sure. But she didn't seem like she would. Unfortunately, she didn't seem like the most qualified person for me to confess.
I find that really interesting. Like I would want someone with more life experience to be helping our vets.
Well, there
because I think with what you guys experience
in PTSD and other ways that you know what I mean, but just not in the cannabis realm,
right?
And hopefully, maybe that's something that will change coming up. This descheduling thing is just it's a joke. I'm not buying it. By the time they make any meaningful changes that we may actually see reflected in the market, it'll be time for a new president to come in that can undo everything with the wave of a pen. So if this is not a law, I'm not impressed. You know what I mean?
I just undo everything and nothing's going to be set up even. Like he didn't do anything. Like nothing's been done. It was a photo op. You know what I mean? It was a photo op and I'm just going to say words. And so in order to actually turn it into law, like there's a lot more work to be done. So I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I was reading the other day too, like totally unrelated to that, but that it is related to that, is that like Project 2026 talks about that it's going to end the ability to ship medications. And I thought that was interesting. So like right now, shipping medications throughout the country is like a common practice. I think a lot of people end up now have their medication shipped to their door, and that's one of the things that they're trying to end, which I thought was interesting. So like when you read the hemp ban, when you read the rescheduling, when you read things like that, and you put the pieces together of like she's not wrong. The Republicans are great at framework. And so, it's happening. It's a lot of, what I've felt a lot of this administration is about, which is the shell game, right? So like where the P is under which one. And as long as we are separated and, we've got the cannabis people fighting for the rescheduling, but really for descheduling. So then you've got the hemp people that just want to survive. And then who knows what other weird shit there is. And everyone's just distracted and focused on the one issue that's the most important to them, without seeing how they are actually linked to each other. And so it's an issue that we have in the cannabis industry all the time anyway, of screaming into our own silo and echo chamber. And then the common public and consumers not being educated enough to know even to take action, because there's so many moving pieces on the board. One day it looks like it's banned. The next day it looks like the president's legalizing it, but neither one are necessarily true.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I did a little bit of research today, and I think the way I understand it, the Schedule 3 drugs are supposed to be controlled by pharmacies. If they're dispensed to patients, that is supposed to be through a pharmacist.
Yeah.
Through the FDA, I think controls that. I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so and if that is actually true, and they try to enforce that will make things really different across the board for dispensaries. If it's even going to come from a dispensary anymore, might have to go to a pharmacy from now on. But
Well, I
what
think
can
that
happen, what can happen is that states can also ignore that the way they have with other federal laws so far and do whatever they want. So even if the federal government comes and says you got to have a pharmacist, states could still, kind of enforce it the way they want to. Your take?
Yeah. I think that makes things complicated too, though, because when
yeah.
the states aren't doing what the Fed wants, there's repercussions, right? Like there's okay, you can do what you want, but it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
And
sure.
so what is that going to cost? And what does that look like? And it's just, honestly, it's one damn plant, like this whole division of like hemp and cannabis. We're the only country in the world that makes any kind of distinction between the two. It's really
ridiculous.
kind of ludicrous.
It's ridiculous.
Last night we had a really great conversation on the Cannabis Babes. Every other Monday we have a little group called Connect. Last night we had a fun little holiday one. And had some really great conversations around this. And, one of the babes made a point of the more we call it medicine, the more the pharmacies get to treat it as a medicine and the government will treat it as a medicine. Right. And so I thought that was a really good point to that as well. And something that we as advocates don't always consider, that while it has been my medicine, how does that sound to other people? And then what level of control? And Trump did say during his announcement, control, so I think that, I tend to believe people when they say things.
For sure. And as you should.
So, that said, we'll also see how much even gets done, because again, Biden had also started this ball rolling, which Laurie mentioned earlier. Nothing really got done with that. Trump's taken a while to get to this as well. I don't know. We'll see. I also just feel like, as someone coming from California, where we had the attitude when Prop 64 passed that like, oh, let's just get it to pass and we'll fix it later. That's not a thing. I'm really curious. I'll ask Laurie some other time, but I'm curious. Maybe you can even tell me in Missouri, actually, like, so the prices are higher, but then what are your compassion programs like for the patients? Because if the prices are higher, that sounds like not as accessible for people who need it the most a lot of the time. And so that's, that would have been a whole other conversation. So I didn't ask that question while she was on, but I will later.
Sure.
But, those are things that, like, because that's something that here, when we made it recreationally legal, it took 2 years before the compassion program had a framework. And so our patients struggled. And also with it costing so damn much to just run a business and an operation here, the programs aren't being run like they need to be for the patients. And they're the ones struggling the most. That's actually who I worry about the most.
For sure. I am going to wrap this up by asking a new question that I want to ask all my guests.
Okay.
So I like that first question, and I'm going to follow it up with this one. This one's kind of a bit out there. You gotta stick with me on this one, okay?
Okay.
Imagine you survived to be 100 years old and you found a time machine. You could come back and visit yourself today, but you could only maybe utter 2 or 3 sentences. What advice would 90-year-old you give yourself today if you could do that?
Go to Portugal.
Enjoy your life. Why Portugal?
I'm actually looking at relocating. It is something that I'd like to do. I've had, since I started doing the podcasting years ago, when this first took off, I had a vision of a map of the world. I've been very blessed to interview people all over the world, but as a result, I want to know more, right? Like I want to know more. And so I've always envisioned a map of the world and it having a timeline of when cannabis was criminalized, the tools that they used, and then same thing with decriminalization. And I've been really blessed to tell a lot of stories from here in Long Beach, California, but the European market and what's going on right now, Portugal in particular, because it is one next to Spain. It's the California of Europe. So your girl needs some warm weather. I don't do the cold. It ceased to be a fascist country about in 74. So almost 50 years, a little over 50 years ago. Abolished slavery in 1740. Love that too. It's a very diverse country. I'm going to have to learn Portuguese though. French and Spanish, I have at least some experience. Portuguese is a whole other beast. But they decriminalized all drugs. And as someone who, like I mentioned, even with a nonprofit and doing a lot of work around harm reduction, when you deal with a houseless community, and learning about harm reduction and what that really is and what that really means and how that can be implemented, I'm fascinated with a country that has decided to treat people as people who need help rather than criminalize them. And so I'm really excited to be able to go find somewhere that's enough like home. I've got a few connections there, and throughout Europe and just find also affordable. The cost of living is 49% what it is here in the States. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons.
Nice.
And they have a great digital nomad visa. So I can apply for a D8 and do what I do from anywhere.
Wow. Sounds like you got it all mapped out.
I'm getting there.
What's next for Canna Boss Babes? Any big plans for the future?
Oh, I mean, we're definitely doing a lot more this year on the platform and on the website. I've really this last year moved away from Instagram to a degree as far as my content's not hosted there anymore. We're doing our recordings on Zoom and other platforms. And so I think just, being able to continue the advocacy, being able to build on the platform, being able to continue my writing. I'm really loving writing after being published this year. It's unlocked something. So, and international growth by the end of the year, like really wanting to be able to build this community and tell the story from a global perspective. I think we as Americans have a tendency to be very me-centric.
America-minded, for sure.
Yeah.
I think all Americans would greatly benefit from being a foreigner in another country.
Look, the neuroplasticity, that's the other thing too. I'm 48. I'm like, how would that not be a good thing for me to go and live in a country where, one, I don't plan on having a car right away. I do want to be able to walk everywhere, but then also like forcing my brain. And I was like, oh, where are you from? What is your, I noticed your accent. And he shared with me, I think it was like Tunisia or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I was like, how many languages do you speak? Cause I'm always fascinated by that. People in other countries, like at least two, and so I just been asking him some questions and stuff and like, what was it like there? And how long have you been here? And just questions, like we're going to be in the car a minute. Like, and it was funny because, I got quiet and he goes, thank you for asking me questions, but not making fun. He says a lot of people get in the car and ask me questions, but in order to be mean, right? Like in order. And I was like, that's just the silliest thing in the world to me, because I bet you they only speak one language. But there's like there's a lot of that here still. And I look forward to being in enough of a cultural melting pot that like that's not a thing. Because it's not supposed to be a fucking thing here, Dave, and it drives me nuts that it is. Like, I'm 48. We all watch Sesame Street. The fact I've been saying for years, it's like the DMV. If we all took the same DMV handbook, then we all know the rules, right? We all watch Sesame Street. We all know how to treat each other. Right. And then they killed Sesame Street this year, too. So I don't know. I'm done. I'm tapping out. So,
Big Bird gone for forever.
Well, I think Netflix is buying up PBS, so it'll be saved in some way, but I don't know.
Oh, wow. That's unfortunate. I learned what aqua meant from Sesame Street.
Really?
Yeah, sure. They did a lot of English, Spanish words. Peligro, and a lot of different words that I learned when I was a kid, so I could speak a little bit of Spanish at least.
Muy poquito de español. Yeah. I did good in school with Spanish. I also, one summer in high school, I worked at a labor camp and I taught the preschoolers English so they could get them ready for kindergarten. And so then I ended up learning a lot myself. And then, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ishqa, it has been very rewarding and fun having you on the show. I'm so glad that you've been on the show twice. You're a veteran now. Wow.
I am.
Thanks,
Dave.
I'll have
needed more Dave.
Let's collaborate on a show together. Maybe you could come up with a guest that we could invite. Does that sound like something maybe you'd want to do?
Yeah, we could totally do that.
Okay. All right. And if you want to get me on your show.
Well, so here's the thing. I have so many people that we could choose from. Do you have like a dream list?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. I might need your dream list. And let's see first if I can get anyone on there.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll try to come up with a top 10 list.
Okay, good.
Who's on your dream list? Who's the number one person on your dream list that you'd love to get on your show?
That's such a good question. I don't know. I've interviewed a lot of people. You know what? I didn't get to do an interview with Vic Mensa this year at MJ BizCon. And I've really been loving his content that he's been putting out outside of cannabis. So I was excited to hear that he's now a license holder in Illinois and starting his own brand and also lending his platform to the industry. So he'd be a good one.
How do I get on your podcast? Do I need to go to your Cannabis website and click on that link?
You don't need to. You can just email me and I'll fill you in on a date. But yes, if anyone else is interested in joining the podcast, I do have on the cannabossbabes.com a guest form that they can fill out and schedule the next available time.
Well, right now I have a lot of availability. So if you have a guest that doesn't make it for some reason, I'm happy to fill in. I could fill in for you if you need a guest.
Okay, good. Because I'm booked until March right now. I'm booking March at this time. I kind of put a pause on bookings too. But because if 3 months feels so far out, and if I push it, then it's like 6 months before I know it. And I'm like, that just feels rude. So,
and, if I have guests that are scheduling even more than a month out, I think that at least 75% of my guests reschedule or don't, you know what I mean? They'll back out if it's more.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's not really happened to me, but I have had to build a little bit of process and automation around that. And that is just if I book things in advance, 2 weeks in advance, 2 weeks before our scheduled time, they're getting a little, message reminder from me of, hey, would love to get your photo and logo for marketing. And then that way they're excited. And then the week before, those things kind of usually go out. And then that keeps the momentum going. But I've had some people that have needed to like reschedule and oh my gosh. But I'm not going to have you wait that long. I'm going to we'll just have you come on as a special and you got to play that commercial for us though, Dave.
100%.
Only thing I ask.
I got to get some merch up so people can actually get more Dave if they need
more Dave. Yeah, for sure.
That commercial was a lot of fun to make. I really enjoyed it.
I can't wait to see what you do over the next couple of weeks.
All right. Yeah, me too. I'm amazed by what comes out of this brain here. I'm like, oh my gosh, did I really do that? What was I thinking? Okay, Ishqa, thanks so much for being on the show. You've been amazing.
Thanks,
And yeah, let's collaborate. We'll do some more stuff together in the near future on my show or your show, either way.
Sounds great.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I found it to be rewarding. What did you think? How was your experience on the Weedcast, being the focus of the show this time?
Well, I mean, I always have a good time with you, Dave. Like, this has been
Aw.
really great. I love the conversations. You've got great guests. Last time it was one of my best friends. Like, how are you going to be mad at that? You didn't even know.
Right.
You know. And then just being able to connect more directly with Laurie again, who's another person that, you know, I thought I had been following online, but apparently I've just been like stalking online. So you know, she's a force, and being
She is
able
such a
to, you
sweetheart,
know,
too.
get some insights from her, because she is on you know, a different, like, even though we both help with marketing and businesses, she definitely is known for helping the larger firms and what that looks like. And so the business perspective from that standpoint is invaluable. It's great. It was awesome to be able to get to know her.
Her, not only her, but yourself, Kelly, Luna, Laurie, all you girls. I mean, I've been very impressed with how responsive you've been to me. You know what I mean? I'm just a little
Oh
guy,
yeah.
and you guys, all you ladies have been very responsive. I'm always surprised because I know how busy Laurie and Luna are. I mean,
Yeah.
those girls are always traveling, and when they're not doing that, they got businesses that they're running,
Yeah.
and they have a personal life, and Laurie's got a husband and 3 kids, for Christ's sake. She's
Yeah.
got a lot going on. And for her to be even just to answer a message and she's always like, oh yeah, Dave, if you want to do something on the podcast, let me know. And Luna's the same way. They're always been really great to me, and I've loved having you girls on. And Kelly is like, and you are also like my new friends that I met at BizCon this year. Great reason to go to BizCon. The connections you make there will change your life.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of really great people there, literally from all over the world. That's the thing that I think is the most fun about that show. And yeah, I came home from BizCon and I was like, Portugal. I was like, hemp toolkit in Portugal.
Oh yeah.
So,
Before we end this, why don't you tell people a little bit about your hemp toolkit? That's what you got going on right now.
aw, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I feel like I need to update it too, because we launched it on Wednesday, the day before the rescheduling. And I think people have a lot of confusion about the two and don't understand how
Yeah,
they are
probably.
not
Yeah.
the same, right?
Yeah.
And so there's, you know, but what I'm looking for, and actually maybe you at home can also help me with, is, you know, if you guys find a really good article or perspective on it, I actually want to share other people's information on my page too. I did a very basic understanding of what's at risk with this hemp ban in 2026. I don't think rescheduling is necessarily going to change any of that the way that maybe some people were hoping, based off the cryptic things that the president was saying about it, with like, you know, oh, $500 for Medicare. We don't know. So we're not going to bet on anything.
Right. Yeah.
This is still, you know, the information on the cannabossbabes.com. There's a hemp access page. You guys will see it. You won't miss it on the homepage. But yeah, some general information for consumers, some information for brands, and also a toolkit for brands to be able to activate. We've got 3 email templates and a year of, you know, email topic ideas if you want to continue promoting it throughout the year and tie it into your, you know, annual events. But there's tools and graphics and things to be able to use to be able to activate your consumers, so that way they can become educated constituents who contact their legislators. And there's a link to that, and it encourages them to share their stories, because, as you know, Dave, our stories are really our most powerful weapon. Like, that is what makes the impact. That's what makes the change. When I've met pastors who now advocate for the plant, it's because their parishioners came to them with stories of what this plant's done for them. And they've not been able to deny that that is some holy work. You know what I mean?
Uh,
So, yeah.
Normalization's got a long way to go, but think how far it's come. You know? Wow.
Yeah. 30 years from compassionate cannabis passing in California to now. Yeah.
Quite a long road of,
It's a
and
long
think how
road.
much think how much and to me this isn't over until the plant's free. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
even
Yeah.
then it's going to be like a sticky road. What role is the government going to play? How are they going to allow people to dispense it?
Well, I mean, our government likes to pretend that we're a bunch of dumb babies who don't know what to do with our own selves, and so they want to control everything. So we'll see how that goes. I also think that cannabis is something that creates more empathy typically in the people that consume it, right? We open up our mindset, we can hear someone else's story and be more receptive to it. It helps put down those little walls of judgment that sometimes we carry, and those walls are very helpful in a country that is constantly trying to divide us. So I just don't know. I mean, like 1,000 interviews, Dave. Like I've heard so many stories of people finding the best versions of themselves with this plant. I don't know. And the way that they live now, not being complacent. I don't know how many uncomplacent citizens they want in the world.
Right.
I'm pretty unmanageable, and I love it that way.
There's so many more things that I'd love to talk about. We've gone we've gone almost 2 hours already with this crazy thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and call it at this point. But
Yeah.
man, we should do this again. There's so much more that we could talk about. I'm really enjoying this conversation. I've had a lot of fun having you on. Thanks so much for being here. We will do it again.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. I think I'm going to go ahead and play this video. Would you like to have the last word? Do you want to tell people how they can get in touch with you? We already mentioned the Cannabis Babes website.
Yeah, the Cannabis Babes website, definitely our Instagram, the Cannabis Babes. You can find me on the Cannabis Babes on pretty much every platform. You can plug it in on LinkedIn. You'll get to me there too. So.
All right. Well, thanks again for being on the show, everybody. Appreciate the Weedcast. I'll probably do a little something next week, at least just to come on and say hi to everybody if we don't have a guest. So tune in next week for at least something. Take care, everybody. Bye.